Do you truly believe you are in control of your life?
Ow.
I'll tell you something that might sound absurd. What you say to yourself before you go to sleep is what determines the course of your destiny. No, I'm not talking about magic or superstition. I'm talking about how your unconscious mind molds your reality while you sleep. Imagine that every night you plant invisible seeds, and every morning you harvest the fruits. The question is, what have you been planting? In that instant, when your eyes begin to feel heavy and your thoughts dissolve into loose images, the conscious mind loosens its grip and the unconscious opens its doors. It's a brief portal, the hypnagogic state in which everything you deliver, as a final message, descends into the deepest layers and begins to work for you while you sleep. Most people lie down burdened by the day, bills, deadlines, truncated conversations at work. Comparing their lives with others, the silent question, what if the money doesn't stretch far enough? I've observed this for decades. When a person falls asleep offering fear, the unconscious registers that as a command, and they fall asleep offering direction. It transforms that into a path. Tell me, how many nights have you lain there mentally calculating bills, adding up interest, anticipating failures? And at dawn, do you not wake up tired, as if you had worked all night? I'm not asking you to lie to yourself. I'm asking you to change the quality of what you offer. Before you sleep, instead of giving the unconscious the day's leftovers, offer symbols and phrases that elevate your psyche, because what you plant at that threshold blooms the next day. It's not self-deception, it's mental hygiene. There is vast literature showing that ruminating on problems before sleep increases sleep latency and worsens morning mood. The unconscious doesn't precisely distinguish between real and imagined. It responds to the emotion you imprint. If you offer anxiety, it reproduces anxiety. If you offer confidence, it organizes itself around it. Do a 30 to 60 second experiment with me. Right now, small pattern interrupts so you can feel what I'm saying in your body. Exhale a long breath, as if releasing a burden. Silence yourself for 2 heartbeats. Road ahead of you, and you walking with lightness. On the horizon, a sunrise. This is not childish fantasy. These are direct symbols for the unconscious road. Light, dawn that speak its language and orient it without the resistance of your usual reasoning. As you visualize, say softly, but with feeling, I choose. To release today's burden, I trust in tomorrow. I allow my mind to create a new path for me. Notice we aren't denying reality. We're offering direction to it. You might object, but Jung, my concerns are concrete. Rent, goals, family. Repeating phrases doesn't pay bills. Agreed. Then suppose to people with the same bank balance and the same bills. The first person lies down thinking, nothing. Works out, there's never enough, and falls asleep consumed by helplessness. The second closes their eyes and sends another instruction. I trust the process of life. I am open to opportunities. My body and mind know how to regenerate. The next morning, the first person wakes up reactive. The second wakes up with a minimal unit of clarity to try what they didn't try yesterday, a difficult phone call, a budget adjustment, a change in their own spending. The difference? Emotional direction at the right moment. I am not describing magic. I am describing a mechanism. The emotional content before sleep orients the perceptions and choices of the next day. Allow me a personal case. During a particularly tense winter in Zurich, I found myself lying awake with the weight of professional decisions and conflicts that drained my energy. For a few days, I fell asleep feeding my unconscious with scenes of exhaustion, and my dreams came out heavy, repetitive. Then, I deliberately changed the nightly gesture before closing my eyes. I visualized a clear, silent road and myself walking toward a horizon that was dawning. I added the phrase, I opened myself to my own rebirth. In a few days, the dreams began to reorganize. Symbols of passage, flowing water, open windows. I would wake up with an operational serenity, not euphoria, but serenity sufficient to make concrete adjustments in the morning. It wasn't immediate, it was progressive. But that change in the nightly seed altered my internal mood upon waking, and that altered practical decisions throughout the day. What if I can't feel anything, you ask? it's common. When anxiety is high, sensitivity dulls. Therefore, don't ask for ecstasy. Ask for sufficient presence. 3 steps are enough at the beginning. 1. Release. Exhale along. Breath and name what weighed on you: money worries, fear of failure. To direct, choose one. Simple and truthful enough phrase that you can sustain for a few seconds. I take 1 step at a time is better than a delusion of grandeur. 3. Symbolize. Associate a concrete image: a road, a light, a door that opens, and hold that scene for 20 to 40 seconds. This combination of word plus emotion plus symbol creates an intelligible package for the unconscious. Don't underestimate the power of detail. Swapping, I want prosperity, for I will finish the expense spreadsheet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Calmly and with clarity changes everything. The first request is diffuse. The second is actionable. The unconscious works better when we give it form. That's why I insist. Short phrases, simple feelings, clear images, and above all, consistency. 1 scattered night is like throwing a seed to the wind. 7 nights create a furrow. 21 begin to carve a trail. You may recognize typical objections in yourself. What if I fail? What if nothing changes? What if I look ridiculous to myself? Observe how all of them begin with what if, the grammatical form of fear. I return with questions that cut through the fog. Asterisk, asterisk. What if you fall asleep 5% lighter tonight? What if that 5% is enough for you to make a call tomorrow you've been postponing for months? What if that call changes a number in your budget? Asterisk, asterisk, it's not luck. It's emotional architecture applied to daily life. Finally, I leave you with a clear experiment. For 7 nights, as you lie down, follow this 3-minute protocol. First, 3 long exhales. If needed, whisper, I release. Second, name in a low voice to burdens of the day: money worry, family tension, and say, I acknowledge and put this in its place. This prevents the problem from becoming a ghost. Third, repeat one directional phrase for 60 to 90 seconds, feeling each word. I choose to release today's burden. I trust in tomorrow. Allow my mind to create a new path for me. While repeating, hold the image of the lighted road and the sunrise in the background. When you wake up, write down in 2 lines the mood of the dream or the first emotion. Don't look for fireworks. Look for minimal coherence. This simple practice, done at the portal between worlds, is the most direct way to plant the reality you wish to harvest: the shadow. Many are afraid to even hear this word, as if it were a monster hidden in the depths of the mind. But I say, the shadow is not an enemy to be exterminated, but a forgotten part of ourselves that insists on knocking at the door. Everything you repress: anger, envy, resentment, insecurity about money, the feeling of failure in the face of life, does not disappear just because you pretend it doesn't exist. On the contrary, the more you try to ignore it, the stronger it becomes, the more it invades your thoughts when you are about to sleep. Have you ever wondered why so often? When you lie down, your mind relives old arguments, past mistakes, or fears about your financial future. This is not bad luck. It is your shadow asking for attention. I experienced this myself. There was a period when I tried to deceive myself, mechanically repeating positive phrases before sleeping, while inside I was full of fear and resentment. The result? Heavy dreams, restless nights, a mind that seemed rebellious, till I realized, before imposing words of light, I needed to embrace the darkness. I closed my eyes and said to myself, I see my pain, I accept my anger. I thank my shadow, because it is also part of who I am. It was a simple, yet transformative gesture. That night, sleep came with a gentle touch, and for the first time, the positive phrases found space to flourish. You might think, but if I accept my anger, won't it dominate me? If I face my fear of money, won't that paralyze me even more? No, acceptance is not surrender. It is integration. When you acknowledge your fears, they stop controlling you. When you admit your anger, it can transform into courage. When you embrace your fragility, you discover a new kind of strength. It is like looking at a child forgotten in a dark room. They don't need to be destroyed, they need to be heard. Only then do they stop screaming. See, even Christian figures understood this principle. St. Augustine, for example, did not become one of the most respected voices of faith by ignoring his vices and shadows. He acknowledged them, wrote about them, and exposed his darkness before transforming it into light. This act of courage liberated him so he could inspire millions. And conversely, think of leaders who never integrated their shadows. The immoderate ambition of some, like Napoleon Bonaparte, led them to ruin. A poorly fed unconscious is like a river that overflows and devastates everything around it. I ask you, how many times have you tried to think positive and yet felt your mind pull back bad memories, guilt, and worries about tomorrow? This is the shadow saying, "Look at me." And the more you deny it, the louder it screams. The secret is simple. Don't fight it. Talk to it. Before you sleep, acknowledge its presence. I see my insecurity. I'm grateful for it showing me where I need to grow. From this gesture, you can offer the unconscious symbols of transformation that genuinely find space to germinate. I ask a direct question. What would happen if, tonight, instead of fighting your bad thoughts, you acknowledged them and set them aside like someone welcoming a tired visitor, and only then offered your mind phrases of confidence and images of rebirth? Try it. Allow yourself to do this for 7 nights. Observe if your breathing doesn't become lighter, if your dreams don't change in tone, if your morning doesn't arrive with less weight. The shadow is not the end of your light. It is the fertile soil where your light takes root. Imagination. Many treat it as a child's game, as an escape from reality. But I affirm, imagination is a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Everything that exists in the human world buildings, music, inventions, even this video you are watching now was first born as a silent image inside someone. Imagination is the invisible rehearsal of what later becomes concrete. Think with me. How many times, on the verge of sleep, have you let your mind wander through scenarios of fear? Perhaps you saw yourself going bankrupt, arguing with someone, losing opportunities, and what happens? Your body reacts as if it were real. Your heart speeds up. Your chest feels heavy. Your sleep becomes turbulent. The unconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It records symbols, emotions, and from them organizes your internal world. So if you plant images of failure, don't expect to harvest serenity.
Ow!
Imagine the opposite. Imagine yourself walking on a lighted road. The ground is firm. Every step is secure. On the horizon, the sun rises, bringing warmth and hope. While you visualize, feel your breathing slow down, your body relax, your mind open up. These symbols, road, light, sunrise, are not fantasy. They are direct messages to the unconscious, codes of transformation. I experienced this myself. There was a time when, overwhelmed with worries, I closed my eyes and visualized only chaos. I dreamed of fires, collapsing buildings, scenes of destruction. My external life seemed to reflect that internal scenario, so I decided to change. Before sleeping, I created a different scene. I saw myself crossing a lighted bridge. On the other side was a vast and silent garden. I repeated this image for several nights in a row. The curious thing is that my dreams began to bring symbols of rebirth, flowing rivers, opening doors, paths that appeared out of nowhere. Little by little, I noticed real changes in my mood, in the clarity with which I made decisions upon waking. Don't think I am talking about illusions. I'm talking about symbols. They touch the secret language of the soul, deeper than any logical reasoning. And this language is what the unconscious understands. Martin Luther King Jr., a Christian figure who transformed history, dared to use his imagination in front of thousands by saying, "I have a dream." He wasn't just talking about politics. He was summoning collective symbols, freedom, equality, justice, in etching those images into the unconscious of an entire nation. Now reflect. What image are you offer in your mind before you sleep? The life of scarcity, fear, and repetition of mistakes? Or a clear road, a welcoming home, a peaceful family, abundance flowing. What you imagine night after night is not a pastime. It is a silent architectural project of your destiny. If you want to turn this power into practice, do this. Before closing your eyes today, choose a simple scene. It can be you walking through a door of light, holding a key that opens a new path, or embracing someone you love and feel safe with. Hold this image for 2 minutes, feeling every detail. It doesn't have to be grandiose, it needs to be vivid. Do this for 1 week. You will notice that, without conscious effort, you begin to wake up with more clarity, more confidence, more energy. Remember, imagination is not an escape, it is creation. When used with intention, it shapes your internal world, and sooner or later your external world responds. So I ask you, what story will you tell your mind tonight? What good is understanding all this if you don't turn it into a habit? Knowledge without practice is just theory, and theory, on its own, changes no life at all. True transformation happens when you repeat small actions night after night until they become a natural part of who you are. Think of a trail in the forest. The first time someone tries to pass, they only find dense brush, rocks, and obstacles. But with each new pass, the path opens up, becomes visible, and is easier to cross. It's the same with your mind. Every time you practice before sleeping, be it a phrase, a visualization, an honest conversation with the shadow, you tread on this path. At first it's difficult, it seems pointless. But after a few nights, the trail is marked. I've accompanied people who started out doubting. One young woman, for example, suffered from deep insecurities. Every night before she went to sleep, she repeated 2 phrases, I am enough. I am capable. At first it seemed like an empty play, but something curious happened. In just a few weeks, her posture changed. Her gaze became firmer. Her voice gained strength. It was the unconscious watering the seed she consistently planted. Modern research confirms what I observed in my clinic. Approximately 85% of people have recurring thoughts of financial worry before they sleep. These thoughts not only increase stress, but also harm sleep and impact mental and physical health. The question I return is, how many times have you fallen asleep mentally repeating the money isn't enough? I'll never get out of debt. What do you think happens to your mind when you wake up? It wakes up conditioned to repeat the same patterns. But if instead, you fall asleep saying, I open myself to new opportunities for abundance, then the mind, in silence, begins to reorganize the pieces so that this path becomes possible. I have also seen the opposite. Leaders who never transformed practice into a habit fell prey to their own shadow. Napoleon Bonaparte, for example, fed his mind with an obsession for power night after night, never silenced himself, never reorganized himself internally. The result? That same obsession led him to ruin. When you don't cultivate internal habits, it's the poorly directed unconscious that takes the helm. Now I provoke you. What if you accepted the challenge of turning your night into a secret ritual of growth for 21 consecutive days? 3 minutes before sleeping, a long exhale to release the burden, a truly felt positive phrase, and a simple image that represents what you wish to live. It doesn't have to be complicated. It needs to be consistent. Just as water shapes stone not by force, but by repetition, the unconscious is transformed by daily insistence. Might think, this is mechanical, I don't feel anything. Persist. On the 21st day, you will notice small changes, waking up less anxious, reacting more calmly to stressful situations, feeling clarity in decisions that once seemed impossible. This is the power of consistent nightly habits. They not only reprogram your mind while you sleep, but they build the emotional foundation of your day. And little by little, without realizing it, you stop being a prisoner of problems and become the author of your own story. Every night, you have a choice: to carry the day's burdens to the pillow, or to use those minutes as a silent laboratory of transformation. You already know the first option well. The second, perhaps, is what has always been missing. What will you choose tonight? If there is one thing you need to take away from here, it is this. Every night you hold in your hands the key that decides what your tomorrow will be. This is not an exaggeration. It is the science of the mind and life experience. What you choose to deliver to your unconscious in that moment between wakefulness and sleep transforms into reality. This is the most important message. And if you have already felt the power of these words, don't stop here. Continue right now, because in the next video that is appearing on the screen, you're going to climb another step together on your journey of self-knowledge and wisdom. It is the opportunity to become 1% better than you are now. If this content has touched you in any way, consider helping the channel with a thanks and becoming a part of our community of subscribers. This way, you will have priority in the next videos, and we'll be supporting this message to reach even more people. I thank you for being here with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.